Discover the incredible moment a CEO exposed a hidden opportunity for a struggling single mother, in the heart of a bustling suburban town, where the chatter of hopeful seekers clashed with the disgruntled murmurs of laid-off employees. There stood Lena, a fierce warrior in a flurry of chaos. A single mother at 32, her life was a whirlwind of insomnia, and the relentless struggle to provide for her young son, Ethan, and her ailing mother, the glue holding her fragile family together. Bills piled up like uneven stacks of cards, threatening to collapse under the weight of despair. But there was a fire in Lena, a glimmer of hope hidden beneath the surface. As she entered the crowded job fair, her heart raced. The air buzzed with nervous energy, dreams mingling with frustrations, aspirations clashing with societal prejudice. And there stood Ethan, the CEO of a rising local tech firm, both imposing and inspiring. They locked eyes for a brief moment, and he noticed her fierce determination, the weight of her worries etched across her brow. The realization hit him that she wasn't just another single mother, she was a force of nature, yearning for an opportunity to prove herself and create a better life. A heart-wrenching cry pierced Lena's busy mind when she learned about the bullying her son suffered at school. It ignited a deeper resolve within her. Her son was not just a victim, he was a light illuminating the injustices of their world. She would become his advocate, fighting for a community fed up with silence. It was time to shake things up. At the community meeting, Lena took the stage. With tears in her eyes and a voice that cracked with passion, she poured out her heart, sharing her family's struggles and rallying others to stand alongside her. "We've been pushed aside, overlooked and forgotten," she exclaimed. The silence in the room was deafening, punctuated only by the subtle sounds of sympathy. Ethan watched, tugged by the rawness of her story. His corporate world felt fragile compared to the fearless energy emanating from the woman before him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As Lena's story garnered attention through a local news segment, whispers of change began to ripple through the town. The community rallied behind her, equipped with a shared hunger for justice. It lit a fire within Ethan, who felt the passion radiating from Lena's bravery. He knew he couldn't turn his back on the moment. People needed to rise together, to uplift the downtrodden, yet, in the background loomed the bitter truth of their societal divide. Lena's fierce spirit collided with Ethan's corporate responsibilities, each step forward shadowed by doubts and fears prickling at their resolve. Would either of them be able to rise above their pasts and truly embrace the potential of their partnership? As hope simmered, the community found itself on the edge of transformation, forgetting about the boundaries that once held them back. In that charged atmosphere filled with both hope and uncertainty, Lena learned to see the flickers of possibility ahead. Even as they stood at the starting line of a much larger journey, questions danced in the air like fireflies in the night. Could they redefine their roles in this unfolding story? As the gathered crowd held their breath, the promise of change flickered, just out of reach. The energy in the community hall was electric, a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. Lena could feel it thrumming beneath her skin, heart racing as she stood before the crowd. They had come together, united in the need for change, for recognition. She inhaled sharply, prepared to push through the doubt screaming at the back of her mind. This was her moment, her family's moment, and she wouldn't waste it. "Tonight," she began, her voice steady, "we don't just gather to share our struggles. We gather to demand solutions." The audience nodded, a rhythm of agreement flowing through the sea of faces. The realization struck Lena hard, she wasn't alone anymore. With each passionate plea, she could feel their collective resolve strengthening, reinforcing her own. Ethan, standing at the back with folded arms, felt the power of her words wash over him. He couldn't shake the admiration swelling inside him. This woman wasn't just advocating for herself or her son, she was empowering those who had long been silenced. It struck him like a bolt of lightning. The world of corporate profits and bottom lines seemed trivial against the depth of her cause. As Lena continued, the backdrop of her story illuminated harsh truths. We can no longer ignore the bullying, the unemployment, and the towers of debt looming over us like a dark cloud. But together, we can push back. Her words resonated, echoing through trembling hearts. She saw the tear-streaked cheeks, heads nodding in sympathy, fists clenching in determination. These people were hungry for change, and they were ready to fight. Amid the whirlwind of emotions, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, a lone woman from Ethan's company, Clara. She had been one of the laid-off employees, her life effectively dismantled by a senseless decision made in an office far removed from the struggles of the lives it impacted. As her eyes met Lena's, a flicker of recognition sparked. Both women wore the weight of their worlds like battle armor, they understood hardship in their own ways. After the meeting, Clara approached Lena, her heart racing. "Can we do this together?" she asked, her voice a mix of desperation and hope. The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Clara had access to resources Lena could only dream of: connections, advice, and maybe even a way to create a collaborative workspace where single parents could learn new skills and build bridges to new opportunities, but jumping into this unknown territory brought hesitation. Would the community trust a CEO's assistant? And could Ethan, who thrived in a world that often overlooked personal stories, truly embrace the messy reality of the fight? The tension twisted in Lena's stomach as thoughts churned. "Let us talk," Lena replied, her voice barely above a whisper, afraid to shatter the moment. They stood there, eyes locked in silent understanding, the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafting from the corner table, reaching out like a harbinger of warmth amid uncertainty. Later that night, as Lena lay in bed, she replayed the day's events in her mind. The laughter, the tears, the sliver of hope. But her thoughts kept returning to Ethan, his careful demeanor, the way he seemed to both admire and fear the growing force of community behind her. It was a tangled mess of emotions that left her wondering, was she ready to navigate this new partnership with him? Would Ethan fully commit to the cause, or would his loyalties shift when faced with business demands? As the moon cast soft light through her window, illuminating the room in hues of silver, Lena drifted into a fitful sleep, the future uncertain, yet promising. What Lena didn't know was that tomorrow, a phone call would come that would change everything. Lena awoke the next morning with a jolt. The sun was streaming through her window, illuminating the room, but her mind felt clouded by uncertainty. The phone was ringing insistently from her nightstand. She fumbled to grab it, her heart thumping as though it was somehow tied to the call. "Hello?" she answered, her voice still thick with sleep. "Lena? It's Ethan." His voice was steady, yet there was an edge to it that made her sit up straight. The warmth of morning light faded just a bit. "Hi, Ethan." She felt a rush of anxiety swirl in her stomach. "Is something wrong?" No, everything is fine." He hesitated, as if searching for the right words. "I got a call this morning from Clara. She told me about your conversation last night." Lena's breath caught. She hadn't expected Clara to reach out to him. The thought sent ripples of unease through her. "And I think we can help. If you're serious about creating that workspace for single parents, I can pull in some resources. My team can help with the logistics. We can make this happen." An explosion of emotions erupted within her: hope, doubt, excitement, and fear all tangled together. "You're dropping this on me now? You realize that this is bigger than just a workspace, right? It's about lives, choices, futures." "I know, Lena. But everyone deserves the chance to stand up, to be heard. I wouldn't have reached out if I didn't believe in it. And I believe in you." She needed time to process. Her mind raced. Could she trust him? The last thing she wanted was to delve deeper into a partnership with someone from the corporate world. But Ethan's sincerity was undeniable, his commitment fueling a flicker of optimism within her. "Okay," she finally said, swallowing hard. "Let us meet." We can discuss how to get this off the ground. Great, he replied, relief flooding through his voice. Let us say later this afternoon. They agreed on the time, and as Lena hung up, she felt a rush of both dread and exhilaration. It was a clear shot at making a difference. But the nagging thought lingered, would Ethan truly stand by the community, or was he just playing the part? The rest of the morning crawled along. Lena prepped mentally, jotting down key points she wanted to discuss. The thought of seating arrangements flooded her with insecurity. She wanted to direct the energy toward empowerment, not let corporate jargon choke the life out of their initiatives. When the time finally came, she arrived at the coffee shop they agreed on, her palms sweating with doubt. Ethan was already there, animatedly chatting with Clara, who looked as vibrant as ever. The sight of them together sparked a mix of anger and confusion within Lena. How much had they discussed without her? This was her vision, her fight. Hey, Lena. Clara greeted her warmly. I'm so glad you could make it. Me too, Lena replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes as she slid into the booth opposite them. Shall we dive in? Ethan nodded, and the conversation began. They talked about the space, the needs of the parents, and the barriers they faced every day. But Lena noticed something unsettling in Ethan's demeanor, a subtle hesitance whenever talks turned toward adapting corporate policies to fit community demands. Each time she sensed his reluctance, a tightening knot formed in her chest. Ethan eventually suggested, maybe we could frame it as a pilot program, something smaller to start. Lena's heart sank. A pilot? You mean keep it on a short leash? That isn't what we need. Clara interjected, let us not jump to conclusions. A pilot could give us credibility. But Lena felt the pulse of urgency and determination rise inside her. I can't back down. They deserve so much more than a trial run. What they need is change, not another experiment. The weight of the moment crashed down on all three of them. Silence fell, the tension palpable. Ethan finally said softly, what if we started with a pilot and expanded based on its success? We'd learn what works. Lena looked from Ethan to Clara and back, torn between their contrasting viewpoints. Was this truly the start of something transformative, or just another way to stall meaningful action? As she stared into her coffee, realization struck her she had to make a choice. One that could either propel them forward or send them spiraling back. Her heart raced. What if this was just the beginning of their journey, but Lena would have to carry the weight alone? With a deep breath, she met their gazes. Let us decide right now if we're in this together or not at all. In that moment, the air crackled with unresolved tension, and Lena knew, the true test was just beginning. Lena could feel the stakes rising, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. She held her breath, watching Ethan and Clara as they exchanged looks filled with uncertainty, maybe even disbelief. The air hummed with questions, and she could almost hear the clock ticking away their precious time. Okay, Ethan finally said, breaking the silence. Let us talk about it. If we're going to do this, we need one unified approach. Lena swallowed hard, eager but cautious. I want to build something impactful. Something that reflects the real needs of single parents. Not just a sanitized version for the boardroom. Her heart raced. She could feel the weight of her own desires pushing against their hesitance. Clara leaned in, her eyes bright. What if we gather feedback from the community first? Understand their needs deeply? That was the spark. Lena seized on it. Exactly. We need input. Workshops, discussions, things that really engage them. Ethan nodded, starting to catch the rhythm. And then we could present it in a way that emphasizes the urgency of the situation. It's not just a business opportunity, it's a lifeline. The three exchanged energy, each feeding off the other's ideas. Lena felt a flicker of hope, maybe they could find common ground, a path forward. But she also sensed that challenge lurking just beneath the surface like a shadow. Let me be clear, Lena said, her voice steady. I won't settle for anything less than a fully functioning resource center. Not a tryout. We are here to change lives. Ethan leaned back slightly, contemplating her words. I get that, he said, a newfound respect in his tone. But we also have to think about scalability. With a pilot, we can handle finances better and ensure sustainability. I understand, but I won't let fear dictate our choices, Lena replied, the conviction in her words burning bright. This isn't about percentages. This is about people. Real, vulnerable lives. Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. Lena couldn't help but notice the conflicting emotions cross his face. What if I told you that my company has faced a similar situation before? We piloted programs that, when successful, expanded beyond our wildest dreams. Lena's pulse quickened. Was it rooted in community needs? Or a mere experiment? Both, Ethan acknowledged. But we learned that the foundation we built with the community made all the difference. Then you know how vital it is to get it right from the start, Lena countered, her determination unwavering. Clara abruptly chimed in, I have an idea. What if we set up roundtable discussions? Every voice matters, and if it resonates, Ethan can sell the concept to the higher-ups as an acceptable risk. Lena met Clara's enthusiasm, feeling the room pulse with possibility. Yes. We gather stories, real stories. That has power. Ethan, imagine presenting that to your team. Ethan remained deep in thought, but Lena could tell he was swiftly piecing things together. Stories have power, for sure. I'll back you, we can frame this right. As Lena exchanged excited glances with Clara, hope unfurled in her chest. A chance at real change danced on the edge of their conversation, but a lingering doubt teased the back of her mind. What if the moment they stepped outside, the momentum vanished? What if the world didn't understand the urgency as she did? No, she reminded herself. They were on the verge of something important, a fleeting opportunity that could lead them exactly where they needed to go. Okay, then it's settled. Lena declared, her voice bursting with resolve. Let's set those discussions and bring our community in. Time waits for no one. As they exchanged excited chatter, Lena felt buoyed by the energy in the room, but in the back of her mind loomed the reality. This was merely the first step. Suddenly, in that moment of joy, a gut feeling washed over her. What if they unveiled something deeper than logistical barriers? Standing on the brink of a breakthrough, she couldn't shake the idea that challenges lay ahead. What if the real fight had yet to begin? Lena stepped out of the conference room, the weight of optimism swirling in her chest. She glanced over at Clara and Ethan, who were engrossed in discussion about the logistics of their upcoming community workshops. The sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the room in a warm glow, but Lena felt a chill deep within. As they walked down the hallway, Clara's voice broke her thoughts. What do you think? Will people actually come? Do we really have enough pull? Lena turned to her, determination hardening her features. We'll make them come. We just have to show we care. Ethan hesitated before throwing out, I can reach out to some local influencers. They might help spread the word. If we can get just a few key figures involved, it could really amplify our impact. Lena nodded, her heart racing with hope. But doubts danced at the edges of her mind. And what if it's not enough? What if they see this as just a few nice faces but don't feel the urgency? The fear of rejection crawled under her skin. The trio reached the lobby, filled with families mingling, kids laughing, and parents glancing at their phones. It was a microcosm of the very community they sought to serve, a place where single parents faced daily battles. Lena's resolve strengthened as she watched them. What did you need when you were struggling? What would have made life easier? Clara posed a question, her voice contemplative. Lena's mind raced back to those dark days, when every dollar felt like an insurmountable hurdle, when the weight of loneliness pressed down like a heavy blanket. Understanding. Honestly, some visible support. A place to feel safe and where I wasn't judged for just trying to get by. Exactly, Ethan chimed in, the perspective shifting in his eyes. We need to emphasize empathy during these workshops. We're not just gathering feedback, we're listening, truly listening. The energy surged back, and Lena felt it wasn't merely a project anymore. This was personal. As they wrote ideas on a giant whiteboard in the lobby, Lena couldn't help but notice a young mother with a weary smile pushing a stroller. Her eyes seemed clouded with the weight of endless expectations. Lena felt a tug in her heart. She understood that look. Hey! Lena called out to the mother, curiosity bubbling inside her. We're working on something for parents in the community. Can we steal a moment of your time? The woman paused, surprise flickering across her face. What is it? Lena felt vulnerable but held her ground. We want to create a resource center for single parents. It's meant to really address your needs. What would help you the most? The mother sighed, glancing down at her child. Support. More than just resources, like actual programs that understand us, not just papers to fill. Sometimes it feels like no one really gets it. Lena's heart sank but filled with purpose at the same time. This was exactly what they needed. The mother's words hung in the air, raw and real. Moments like this could reshape their efforts. As they continued discussing with more families and hearing their stories, Lena's doubts dissolved. This was bigger than her. It was about community, unity, and genuine change. They had to fight for it. A fire burned brighter within her with each shared experience. After their conversations concluded, Ethan gathered them in a huddle. What we heard today. It was loud and clear. We need to focus on that emotional connect. Yes, Clara said, her face flushed with passion. We have to show we are there for them. No matter the risk. Lena agreed, but the gut feeling from earlier returned. But if we push this through and it's still not enough, what if we meet unexpected resistance? Ethan put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We'll navigate it together. No matter the challenge, we've got each other. As they regrouped to brainstorm further, Lena realized this was only the start of a battle she had yet to truly grasp. They were charged with energy but also welcomed the weight of responsibility. What lay ahead could either build them up or tear them apart. It was a risk. Sure, but it was one she was willing to take, because what if they uncovered something more than just feedback? What if hope transformed into a movement? Lena couldn't shake the feeling gnawing at her insides. The conversations they had today were not just data points, they were echoes of lived experiences, cries for help wearing the form of everyday smiles. As thoughts drifted to the next steps, she felt the pulse of something greater than just their workshops. It was about building a bridge, a lifeline woven tightly with understanding and empathy. That evening, they found themselves crowded around a small table in an all-too-familiar cafe, the kind that smelled of fresh coffee and baked goods. It was buzzing with the chatter of locals, laughter filling the air as an excellent cover for the heavy topics they discussed. Clara flipped through her notes, her eyebrows knitting together. We need to outline our vision. A concise mission statement that speaks to their hearts, not just their needs. Ethan nodded in agreement. Absolutely. We have to showcase that we're in this together. Not just as experts but as allies. Lena stared at the scraggly writing on the notepad before her. She could feel the weight of her own words, each one a step closer to their shared mission. We need to tell a story. Stories connect people. They don't just hear, they feel. What if we shared your story, Lena? Clara suggested, a spark igniting in her eyes. The struggles you faced, where you once stood. It could inspire them. Lena felt a lump in her throat. Her experiences, once wrapped tightly in shame, were now a part of her strength, yet it still felt like exposing a wound. I don't know, Clara. It's painful to revisit. But Clara leaned closer, her eyes intense. It's real, Lena. There's power in vulnerability. It shows that you get it, that this isn't just a project, it's personal for all of us. Ethan chimed in, you're right. Your journey could be the beacon others need to see the potential inside themselves. Lena swallowed hard, her heart racing as she visualized herself standing in front of a crowd. Could she do it? Could she share the scars that seemed to heal but never fully faded? Maybe if it helps, if it shows them they're not alone. Just then, a familiar voice broke into their conversation. So, what is the plan for changing the world tonight? It was Amy, a single mother who lived nearby and often visited the cafe. She had a radiant smile, one that tugged at Lena's heartstrings. Lena looked at her, the nerves fluttering in her stomach easing slightly. We're brainstorming for our community workshops. We want to make sure they resonate deeply with single parents. As Amy joined their table, eager to contribute her thoughts, Lena felt the weight of their mission intensify. Each shared idea was a reminder of why they were there. The round table transformed into a sanctuary where honesty thrived. They need to know they have a voice, Amy said, her tone earnest. No one should feel alone. And they need real solutions, too. Maybe a discussion group just to connect and share experiences. Yes. Clara said, her excitement bubbling over. Support not only through programs but also through shared experiences. Lena beamed, charged by the warmth of the collaboration. She realized they were gaining momentum, but still, a game-changing moment lingered just out of reach. Let us invite local businesses to sponsor this initiative, Lena suggested suddenly. Get them involved in more than just donations. Let them show up, too, because they're part of this community as much as we are. As they spoke, Lena felt it a swell of hope. They were pooling their talents, ideas, and strengths into something that could ripple through the whole town. They were the movers, the doers. Yet amidst the growing enthusiasm, something still gnawed at the back of Lena's mind. What would happen when the first workshop came? What if it didn't resonate? Could she bear the thought of facing rejection again? Deep down, she felt an undeniable pull, a conviction stronger than her fears. They were meant to forge this path, but in the back of her mind lingered a daunting question: what if, in their quest for change, they stumbled upon something far more volatile than they had anticipated? The next few days whirled by in a blur of excitement and anxiety. Lena's mind was a whirlwind, constantly replaying the conversation at the cafe. Each idea for the workshop grew, transforming from mere words on a page to something almost tangible, a flicker of possibility that illuminated her path. On Saturday morning, as warm sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, Lena prepared a simple breakfast. The smell of pancakes filled the air, blending with the warmth of coffee that brewed nearby. Her son, Danny, entered, his sleepy eyes brightening at the sight. Are we going to the workshop today, Mom? Yes, kiddo. Lena replied, feeling a mix of joy and apprehension. She had promised him an adventure, a day filled with new friends and stories to share. Yet, as she watched him eat, the same nagging worry crept back. What if no one showed up? What if she fumbled her words? A wave of doubt washed over her. She couldn't put her fears into words, but they sat heavily in her chest. After breakfast, they arrived at the community center, the walls painted in cheerful colors, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside her. The space was set up with chairs in a circle, a welcoming gesture for conversation. As the minutes ticked by, her heart raced each time she glanced at the door. When the first few parents trickled in, relief washed over her. However, that initial sense of calm quickly shifted as she noticed their wary expressions, the uncertainty in their eyes mirroring her own fears. Hi everyone, thank you for coming. Lena started, her voice trembling slightly. Today, we're here to connect, share, and hopefully find strength in our stories. Danny, sensing his mother's nervousness, clutched his craft supplies tighter. Lena forced a smile at him, his presence anchoring her to the moment. As the room began to fill, stories started to emerge. One mother spoke about the struggles of managing work and childcare, her hands shaking as she shared. Another recounted a heartbreaking journey through loss, the heaviness of grief still palpable in her voice. With each story, Lena felt a collective spirit rise, an unspoken bond forming among them. They were not just sharing concerns, they were embracing vulnerability together. Hours passed like minutes. Lena found herself captivated by the bravery around her, her fears slowly dissipating with every shared laugh and nod of understanding. She felt an overwhelming urge to share her own story, to stand in their vulnerability and illuminate the path they were forging together, but just as she opened her mouth to speak, the door swung open, and in walked a tall figure, commanding immediate attention. It was Jordan, the CEO of a local nonprofit dedicated to supporting families. Lena's heart raced. She had never met him, but his reputation for community engagement preceded him. He surveyed the room, noting the tense atmosphere. "Hey everyone. I'm here to learn from all of you," he said, a genuine smile breaking the silence. "I want to hear what challenges you are facing and how we can build something meaningful together." Lena could hardly fathom what this meant, not just for her but for everyone in the room. The air shifted as he sat down, center stage among them, and the energy transformed from uncertainty to hope. With newfound courage from his presence, Lena felt the weight of her story urging to be released. She raised her hand slightly, feeling the eyes of the room shift back to her, but just as she was about to speak, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She hesitated, a rush of mixed feelings hitting her. Should she ignore it? What could be so urgent now? Deep down, she knew she had to share. But as she pulled her phone out, a sudden glance at the name on the screen sent dread through her veins. What if it was news that could shatter everything? And there it was, the invisible line between potential and panic, and Lena stood at its edge, unsure of which way to jump. Lena's heart raced as she stared at her phone. The name lighting up the screen was familiar but unwelcome. It was Robert, her ex-husband. The weight of his presence loomed large even after all this time. She fought the urge to shut her phone off and forget it all. But another part of her, the part that craved closure, urged her to answer. Taking a deep breath, she swiped to accept the call. "Hello. Lena, it's Robert. I know this is unexpected," he began, his voice shaky. "I need to talk to you about Danny." 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. Why now? Wasn't he the tumultuous part of their lives behind them? She noticed the room around her dimming in her periphery. The laughter, the stories, the smiles faded as she turned her attention inward, feeling as if she was on a precipice, ready to fall. "Danny's fine," she replied, her tone sharper than she intended. "That's not what I've heard. I think we need to discuss his schooling. Things have changed since." He hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "I might have to get involved more." Lena's stomach churned. She remembered all the struggles they faced co-parenting, the arguments that left her feeling more alone than ever. This wasn't just a phone call, it felt like a storm rolling in, threatening the fragile peace she had built for herself and Danny. "Like I said, Danny's fine. I'm handling everything," she shot back, her voice stronger than she felt. Suddenly, the chatter from the group around her rose up like a tidal wave. People were sharing their own struggles, and here she sat, holding her breath. Jordan looked at her, brow raised, sensing the shift in her energy. He leaned forward, his eyes urging her to let go of whatever burden she held. But what if Robert had a point? What if Danny really did need his father? Lena squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, grounding herself in the cacophony of voices around her. She needed to break this cycle, not just for herself, but for Danny. Emotions rolled over her like a tide. She wanted to scream, cry, something, but the workshop, the connection she was nurturing in this very room, ignited a spark within her. "Listen, Robert. We can talk later, if it's really necessary. But right now." She glanced around the circle, catching the supportive gazes of other parents who had opened their hearts, sharing their own fears and battles. "Right now, I have to focus on what matters. Danny is safe. And he is loved." As she hung up the phone, she felt a shift. The heaviness lifted just a little. Not completely, but enough for her to take a step forward. She stood up, heart pounding, every set of eyes on her as if waiting for the next act in a play. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just received some difficult news. But it reminds me of why we're all here today. This isn't just about sharing our pain, it's about strength and hope, a new path forward." With each word, she felt the warmth of the community surround her. Stories poured from her like water, her struggles, moments when she felt her heart break, victories that, while small, were so meaningful. As she spoke, she caught Jordan's approving nod, and for the first time, she truly felt like she was part of something larger. The power of vulnerability surged in the room, lifting spirits, breaking down walls. When she finished, applause filled the space. Tears prickled in her eyes, but they were not just from fear. They were from liberation, from the support of those around her. She had taken a leap and found herself not falling but rising. Just then, Jordan's voice broke through the emotion. "Lena, thank you for sharing your journey. We could help one another, create something impactful for all of our kids." Her heart raced at the thought. What if there was more she could do? What was this incredible opportunity he was hinting at? "Let us talk about how we can support each other in this, how we can turn those stories into action," he added, appealing to the group. Lena's breath hitched at the prospect of a new purpose unfolding before her. A small flame flickered to life inside her, illuminating a new path. But just as anticipation surged within, another vibration from her pocket interrupted her moment. She glanced down another call, another chance for turmoil or transformation. Could she really handle both worlds? Would she be able to balance her new passion with the echoes of her past? As the gathering swirled with excitement, the buzz of unseen possibilities filled the air. And Lena stood at the center, aware of the choices that lay ahead, her heart poised delicately between hope and hesitation. What door would she choose to open next? Lena's heart raced as she stared at her phone once more, the screen illuminating her uncertainty. She was caught between the warmth of the supportive circle around her and the chill of her past. With a swift motion, she silenced the vibrating phone, deciding to focus on the here and now. She was filled with a sense of empowerment, fueled by the stories shared in the room, but Robert's looming shadow stirred doubts within her. Jordan's voice broke through once more. "I want us to create a program, a network where we can share resources and help each other through the struggles of parenting. What do you think?" His eyes were bright, brimming with enthusiasm. The idea settled in her mind, growing roots of possibility. Lena could see it, parents supporting parents, sharing their lessons learned from the battlefield of raising kids. She could help that happen. But how could she possibly juggle this new commitment with the unpredictability of Robert? A hand on her shoulder jolted her back to the present. It was Anna, one of the fellow parents, offering a gentle smile. "You inspired us tonight, Lena. What about using your story to guide others? You have the strength, everyone feels it." For a moment, Lena stood silent, absorbing Anna's words. Her voice was a whisper but carried deep conviction. "It would be so easy to just walk away, to let fear guide my decisions." "You're not alone, Lena. We're all in this together," Jordan chimed in, his sincerity filling the air like a reassuring blanket. "Take a leap," she thought, recalling the thrill she felt when she spoke from the heart. The room had resonated with her vulnerability. Letting out a shaky breath, she squeezed her hands together. "All right, I'd love to help. Let's turn this into something real, something tangible." The crowd cheered, and she couldn't help but smile through the butterflies swarming in her stomach. This spark had ignited a flame, one that offered comfort and purpose. Yet, as she shared her ideas, the weight of Robert's call faded but didn't disappear. She needed to confront him sooner or later. As discussions unfolded, ideas flowed. What workshops to hold, what resources to bring. Her excitement swelled as she joined in, and for a fleeting moment, the shadows of her past seemed to retreat. She realized that sharing her experiences could carve out hope not only for others but for herself, but when the last applause whispered through the air, that sense of dread returned. Robert had made it clear he wanted to be involved in Danny's life again. Would he disrupt this newfound momentum she had found? "Lena, you okay?" Jordan's watchful gaze caught her drifting thoughts. She nodded, though her stomach tightened. "Yeah. Just thinking about next steps." But really, she contemplated how to have a conversation with Robert about his plans while keeping her newfound purpose intact. "I know you're a fighter," Anna said, joining in their conversation. "Don't let anyone take that light away from you." Those words hung heavy in the air, igniting fresh resolve in Lena. She would not let Robert's return extinguish her flame. Time passed quickly, filled with a promising energy. People began parting ways, but Jordan lingered. "Lena, when you're ready, let us brainstorm this program further. Together we can make a real difference." As she met his hopeful gaze, she felt a blend of gratitude and a different kind of fear. Hope battled with the dread, and soon, she found herself pacing just outside the building, seeking fresh air. "Lena." Jordan's voice called after her. "How about tomorrow? Same time?" Her instincts urged her to say yes, to commit, to block out the worries. "Definitely," she replied, though a part of her still recoiled at the thought of facing Robert, but then, a new message chimed on her phone, drawing her attention. It was Robert again. Her heart sank, and a familiar tension filled her chest. She opened it, her pulse quickening. "We need to talk about Danny. Tomorrow. It's important." Lena felt the ground tilt beneath her. The excitement of the night mixed with an unshakable fear. Would her dedication slip away under the pressure of past conflicts? She turned back toward the gathering, feeling as if she was on the edge again, caught between the man who represented her past and a brighter future that she was just beginning to shape. What would she choose this time? Would she be brave enough to stand her ground for Danny, for herself? And what new challenges awaited her on this path she had chosen? Lena stood frozen in the cool air, phone in hand, assailed by waves of uncertainty. The whisper of the blossoming community behind her felt distant, like a heartbeat she longed to embrace but feared to approach. She faced a decision that could change everything: the echo of Danny's laughter, the warmth of shared stories, and the promises of new beginnings brought her back to the moment. Breathing in deeply, she felt the fire within her rekindle, pushed by the flickering hope of the community they were building, the lifeline that could lift families like hers from the depths of despair. As she stepped back into the vibrant energy of the gathering, she found Jordan still lingering, eyes full of encouragement. The whirlwind of ideas they had shared danced in her mind: resources, workshops, connections, real solutions that could change lives. Yet, Robert's looming presence interfered, suggesting she wasn't just fighting for herself anymore, it was for every parent struggling to find their footing. "Lena? Is everything okay?" Jordan's voice broke through her thoughts, concern etched on his face. The moment stretched, and she realized it was time to find her voice once again. "Actually, no." The honesty hung in the air, and she squared her shoulders, newfound resolve fueling her. "I have to face this. I can't let my past dictate what my future, or Danny's, should look like." Jordan regarded her with admiration. "You've already done so much. If you choose to face Robert, you'll do it with that same strength." Nodding, Lena closed her eyes for just one moment, letting the memories rush back: days when she barely felt like she had a handle on her life, nights spent worrying about Danny's future, the bruises of a broken marriage that taught her what truly mattered: love, understanding, resilience. When she opened her eyes, she saw the circle of parents still mingling, sharing their dreams, ready to support one another. Those moments were what she wanted to protect. "I will talk to him," she said defiantly. "And I'll make it clear that Danny's safety and happiness is non-negotiable." As the night deepened, Lena stood rooted to her purpose, ready to face whatever came next. The fear that once rooted her in place now propelled her forward. She was ready to tackle her challenges head-on. After saying goodnight to Anna and Jordan, she took a deep breath, determination coursing through her. The next day dawned bright and clear, but the sunlight did little to ease Lena's nerves as she paced in her living room, waiting for Robert's arrival. She had made a list of her talking points, scribbled notes of what she needed to express not just for herself but for Danny too. He deserved a mother who strove for the best, who defended his needs, not backed down. There was a knock at the door, sharp and demanding. Lena's heart raced as she opened it, seeing Robert standing there, looking both apprehensive and fixed. "Lena, we need to talk," he said, his voice steady but not entirely devoid of emotion. "Agreed," she replied, her tone firm. "You can't just waltz back into our lives and make demands. Danny needs stability. He deserves a safe and loving environment." Robert took a breath. "I know I haven't been a part of his life, but things have changed. I want to be involved for real this time." Lena felt a sharp pang in her heart. Could she trust him? Memories of missed opportunities and painful arguments flooded through her mind, but she could see the flicker of sincerity in his eyes. "This isn't about you," she reminded him. "This is about what's best for Danny. If you truly want to be involved, then show up. Be consistent. Get help, if you need to." Silence hung heavy between them, but she stood her ground, unwavering. The man she once loved had to show that he deserved to be part of their son's life. Ever since their split, it was clear to her, she would not let him take a single step back toward their old dynamic. "I get it," he finally said, his voice lower now. "I've made mistakes. But I want to try. I can take parenting classes, get support. Whatever it takes." Lena searched his face, looking for signs of genuine intent. "You'll have to prove that to Danny. Show him that it's not just words. Actions speak louder." The conversation pivoted, as they began discussing details, establishing boundaries, and what the next steps would be. It was a refreshing shift, one that Lena had previously thought impossible. After they reached an understanding, Lena closed the door as Robert left, feeling a profound sense of release. She had held her ground, allowing herself to hope for a future where they could co-parent effectively. Later that evening, Lena joined the group at the community center for the workshop. The excitement crackled in the air, each parent eager to share experiences, vulnerabilities, and insights. Lena stepped onto the makeshift stage, eyes sweeping over the participants, their faces reflecting hope, anticipation, and a shared journey ahead. "Today, we are not just here to share problems, we're here to create solutions together." Her voice rang with newfound determination, and she recounted her journey, the struggles, the battles, but most importantly, the victories that came from standing up for her family. As applause erupted, Lena realized she wasn't just speaking for herself or for Danny. She was igniting a movement, a burgeoning community built on solidarity, trust, and empowerment. Her heart swelled with purpose. This was truly where she belonged. Tension finally bowed to joy, the realization that all the struggles, the fears, and the battles led here a place of transformation. No longer fighting alone, she felt the warmth of connection binding them all. As they brainstormed solutions, echoing tales of resilience and hope around her, the weight on Lena's shoulders lightened even further. She wasn't just a single mother. She was a catalyst for change, a conduit for healing. Her journey had converged towards something magnificent, a future where families could thrive, free from the shadows of their pasts. When the workshop concluded, laughter bubbled over, and Lena hugged her son tightly. They were stepping into a beautiful tomorrow, filled with promise and unity. Now, more than ever, she felt the stirring of something greater. Change was on the horizon, and she was ready to embrace it. And as she looked around at the smiling faces of her community, their collective spirits lifted her high. She knew this was only the beginning. Now, it's your turn to be part of this incredible journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Let's keep the conversation going. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and realize they can be the change in their lives. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.